and welcome to another episode of Who's Who of Athanasia, where I, your host, Jay Carter, run you through a randomly generated character sheet and inspired by a mini, which today is a very bold-looking wizard. With the inspiration of a mini, I tell you the story of a prominent NPC for the world of Athanasia from the Grimoire Campaign Setting. Today, our NPC is Tammith Dyernina, a wizard, a mage, a creation mage. Indeed, a creationist. Let's see what we got. So this character may be visible to you in the comments I am posting right now. You will see a link to this person. I'm getting faster at this, I promise. This time I actually prepared it in advance. So here we go, Tammith Dyernina. What's going to post in the comments is a version of the character sheet, which is still in beta because we are literally working on it right now. We're going to be changing very little because the whole idea is that we want to have it be as close as possible to what we've got. But we also want to make some interesting conclusions, make some decisions about who Tammith Dyernina is over the course of this, hopefully, hour. I'm marking the time. I'm shooting for an hour or less. Here we go. If you want to follow along, and you are not watching this live, which is far more likely, go ahead and head to the comments. I'm sorry, to the description where there's going to be a link for her finalized character sheet, and you can see what we ended up with. All right. So Tammith Dyernina, 20th level wizard. This one has a background in Guild Artisan, rather than our previous two, Bellin and Malark, who were sages. The reason I went with Guild Artisan here is because as a creation mage, she's going to be interested in making things, in actually producing physical objects out of either fields of magical force or by transmuting them into existence. And so I felt like it was appropriate for her to have that artisan background where you're making it with your hands, you understand how it works, and you're putting things together in a physical way before you create them in a magical way, because then you can make sure that the structure is supported, right? You understand the physics of how things are put together. So she's a guild artisan background. She is female, human, and what came up randomly was a subrace of human called Stensia. Now, Stensia is not in the player's handbook. It's in a PDF supplement that you can get for free. As far as I know, I got mine for free from DM's Guild. And it's from Planeshift Innistrad. This is one of the planes of the Magic the Gathering sort of multiverse. And Innistrad specifically is the sort of vampire world. It's very, what's the word? Ravenloft. It's very Ravenloft-esque. There are several different races in Innistrad that are significant, and Stensia happens to be one of them. The others are Gavany, Nephalia, and Kessig. And the Stensia are distinct in that they get bonuses to Strength and Constitution. They have proficiency in the Intimidation skill. And they have a hit point maximum increase by 2, which increases 2 every time they gain a level. So they are tough. Now, this also means that they can't take the toughness feat. I seem to remember that. It says the ability score increase your intelligence and charisma scores each increase by 1. And breadth of knowledge. You gain proficiency in any combination of 4 skills or with 4 tools of your choice. No, I'm sorry. That's Nephalia. I apologize. No. Now that I think about it, Nephalia would have been a really good creation mage background. Because they gain proficiency with tools. Now, that's fine. We'll go with Stensia because breaking the common expectation. So a creation mage from Stensia? Oh, that's interesting. All right, so strength and con increases by 1, proficiency in intimidation, and hit point max increases by 2, and another 2 every time you gain a level. Interesting. Okay, so there's that. Neutral alignment. All right. So this is our first, I think this is our first non-good mage. We'll find out how that goes down. That's interesting. All right. So our strength is 9. Seems pretty common among mages. Dex 17, con 16. Pretty good physical stats. Intelligence 17. Okay. So she is continuing the trend of having the intelligence slowly go down over time. We had Bellin at 20. We had Malark at 19. And it looks like Tammith's intelligence is at 17 at level 20. So apparently she's not so much with the intelligence as compared to her colleagues. Wisdom 13, charisma 15. She seems to be a far more balanced character. She rolled really well on her stats. The only one that's low is strength. So she's very tough and hardy. She's nimble. She's smart. She's witty. But she's also very beautiful and graceful and good with her words. Interesting. Okay, cool. So far, so good. Her AC is 13. Armor class of 10 plus 3 dex. She's not wearing any armor or shields. Okay, sounds good. She has a swim speed of 40 feet. What in the world could that be for? Okay. She also has a dagger and a temperate light crossbow. Now, I'm not seeing anything to the contrary. I'm not seeing anything to suggest a dagger or a light crossbow, but certainly I'm sure that she could find a place for it. Her personality is as follows. Quotable. So she tends to cite things that she has read and say them out loud at the appropriate times. Her ideal is people. We'll find out what that means later. Her bond is the guild. Ooh, okay. So she's very tied to the guild. Maybe in her earlier life, she was raring to go first thing getting into that guild, and then maybe she became the guild mage. Maybe she not guild mage. Maybe she became the archmage. Flaw, never enough. Oh, interesting. It's never enough. Maybe her resilience, her physical resilience caused her to feel like she's always able to take on more. Okay, let's think about that more. She is a business operator. She runs a wagon making shop. How did she get into wagon making? That's interesting. Okay. So far, so good. So a couple of dingly bits. We've got that swim speed. The guild is a strong sort of thread. Never enough, and then wagon maker. Okay. Let's see where this goes. Simple gear, wand, spellbook. That's literally on the mini, right there. Wand and spellbook. So no problem there. Explorer's Pact, dagger, light crossbow, wood carver's tools. Oh, we missed something. There's that light crossbow, temperate light crossbow. Okay, so this is another one of those minor abilities, minor magical item abilities that comes to us out of the DMG. Page, let's see what temperate does. All right. Treasure. Okay, minor properties. This is page 143 of the DMG. Temperate. The bearer suffers no harm in temperatures as cold as minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit or as warm as 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, so maybe this, she has a swim speed. Maybe she likes to go delving underwater where it is chilly. Maybe she has a reason to go far below the surface. This is interesting too, because wagon maker would not really suggest really hot or cold environments. I mean, sure, you could, of course, travel to the north or high up the mountains with a wagon if you had a stable path, but it really doesn't suggest going out into the water. These might be from two different periods of her life, and she just happens to have them around. Maybe she was a wagon maker earlier in life, and later she moved toward the coast and into the islands of the sea, and then maybe under the sea. Yeah, put all the jokes you want about crabs that speak like Jamaicans. Wood carver's tools, naturally. Wagon maker. Guild introduction letter. Oh my gosh, she saved it. She saved her guild introduction letter. She was so proud. Aw, traveler's clothes, naturally, because she travels a lot. Draft horse, of course. Again, we get our characters' mounts as soon as they can afford it, and we just take it out of their gold pieces. So that's natural. Draft horse, cool. I'm interested. Let's see how a draft horse is different than, say, a regular horse, like a war horse. Draft horses, I think, are the ones that pull the wagons, if I'm not mistaken. So that actually kind of makes sense. Maybe she got this off of maybe she grew up on a farm or a ranch. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Let's see what we've got. Services, comfortable, wealthy, wretched, mounts and vehicles. I don't think it's specifically. So it says mounts and other animals: camel, donkey or mule, elephant, draft horse, riding horse. And then later it says pony and war horse. I'm going to make the assumption, based on what I know about real world stuff, that draft horses are the ones that pull things. A riding horse is obviously for a rider, person to be on. A war horse would be the kind of horse that comes trained for battle. So the draft horse is probably pulling the wagon. It might be the horse. I don't know, how long do horses live? What's the average lifespan of a horse? Average lifespan of a draft horse. Around 18. Okay, so if she's got a draft horse, probably it's not the one that she knew when she was a child. Or if it is, maybe she watched that thing be born. And then it kind of grew up with her. How old is she? Let's find out. We might have to change this later, but 62 years old out of 98 max? I don't see her being 62. Yeah, she looks pretty young to me. Unless, of course, she's using illusion magic to make herself appear younger, which would be fine. Let's see. 62 years. Yeah, I doubt that. I'm going to go to, there's an online dice roller. I'm going to go ahead and roll. We're going to say 2d10 add 10. Okay, 2d10 add 10. That's 2 10s plus 10 is 30. Sure. That way, at least it's random and it's not just me arbitrarily choosing a number. 30. That'll work. Okay. So if she's 30 years old, maybe this is a really old draft horse. Maybe she knew this horse. Maybe this was like maybe this is a gift from her parents or family when she graduated from the Magic Academy and got her guild introduction letter. Yeah. So it was a big day for her. She graduated, she got her introductory letter to the guild, and she watched a calf be born. And so she took the calf as a present, or her parents gave it to her as a present. And that was sort of a big day, her red letter day. Interesting. Okay. And they kind of grew up together, as it were. So he's maybe not too old. Okay. Awesome. Guild introduction letter, traveler's clothes, draft horse, scroll of watery sphere, 4th level. Okay. Watery sphere. She's near the water with that swim speed, so that makes sense. Wand of the War Mage. Ooh. So here we have the same thing that our buddy Malark had, but instead of it being a staff, it's a wand. All right. Wand of the War Mage. That's good, because the fact that it's in her mini makes me want it to be cooler than just it's a wand. So that's cool. Wand of the War Mage +1. Awesome. Ring of Swimming. That's what's giving her the swim speed. Yeah, and it's a 40-foot swim speed too. Is that what Ring of Swimming does? Or is she getting a bonus to that somehow? Doesn't it just give you a swim speed equal to your walking speed? Why would it be 10 more than our walking speed? Ring of Swimming. Ring of PQR. Ring of Swimming. You have a swimming speed of 40 feet. Yep. So it just sets it at 40. Okay. What made her want to get a ring of swimming? She has a staff of fire. Oh, it's interesting that this has come up now for the second time in only 3 characters. She also has a staff of fire. Huh, okay. Okay. That seems, random. So, sure. If it happens, it happens. Why would she have? Okay. Maybe this is a thing. Maybe she and Bellin come from a similar area where that's like, where like the staves of fire are built. Because in my world, it's not very common that you find 2 of a given magic item. They're usually pretty rare, made by one person. His staff of fire is also very interesting. Like it's got the curved with the spikes on the top and the bottom, and it looks very appropriate for insect folk. So it makes me wonder if maybe, what if they knew each other? What if she and Bellin knew each other and there were 2 staves of fire? Or if maybe they lived a little bit, maybe the crafts person, here we go. Maybe the crafts person who made the staves so that they could be enchanted is a colleague of hers or a mentor. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Yeah, because I want it to be more than just, they were in the same area. Like, what if she knew the dude? Because she's a craftsperson, right? And she's in the Creation Guild. Okay. Superior healing potion. All right. Temperate light crossbow. We've gone over that. Yeah. All right. She's proficient with wizard weapons, no armor, shields, and woodcarver's tools, as we established before. She can't take the toughness feat because of her ability, subrace. She has no resistances or immunities from being a wizard, but she has resistance to fire from the staff. Have we discovered what it is that gives her? Right, the temperate light crossbow is what allows her to be in freezing temperatures. Now she has a swim speed and she has a temperate light crossbow. That'll take care of the movement problem and the cold problem, but it won't take care of the water breathing problem. So I'm tempted to say, if she hasn't got something that lets her breathe, I want to say we got to take care of that somehow, because otherwise, why is she going so low into? Or maybe it's Arctic waters. Yeah. Maybe it's Arctic waters, although there's not many of those in the map of Athanasia, now that I think about it. The north is pretty well landlocked. Okay, we'll think about it. We'll come back. We have languages, Common, Giant, and Infernal. Why would she know Infernal? But she does know Giant, which I feel like Malark should have known, but that just sort of adds that's okay. Giants can speak Common anyway. All right, so Common, Giant, and Infernal. Why did she know Giant and why did she know Infernal? Did she end up? Is that how she got her Staff of Fire? Nah. Yeah, we won't go there. All right. Age, 30 years, we've decided, because 60, whatever it was, seemed a little bit too high. 5.4. 5 foot 4 inches high. That makes about as much sense as anything else. 126 pounds, dark brown eyes, dusky brown hair. Now, she may be a non-natural redhead, but the way I've painted her hair is red. And regardless of what it is naturally, let's go ahead and say, actually, I misread that. It was dark brown eyes, dusky brown skin, which I will leave, and then black hair, we're going to change to, I'm going to say ginger. Racial traits, she can't take the toughness feat, but all the other stuff we've already said. Guild artisan feature, respect of the stout folk. Okay, so a little bit of a world building note here. So in my campaign setting, in Grimoire, they don't, fey creatures, number 1, are not terribly common. Number 2, dwarves and elves and goblins and goblinoids in general are all fey. Now, the goblinoids are less so. They have fey origins. They came from the fey realm, but as they passed into the material plane and they wasted their magic, basically, they became more and more material until they basically aren't fey creatures anymore. Dwarves and elves maintained that magic. So when we talk about respect of the stout folk, Golden Shield dwarves offer you free room and board and may compete to offer you and your party the best they have. So because she's a crafter, because she's such a good crafter, she's known among dwarves, which is interesting because in this case, it actually implies that she either lives near a ley node, which is an intersection of ley lines, where there's a passage during seasonal times between the material world and the Fey realm, or maybe she lives near the mountains. Ooh, maybe this is why she has the temperate crossbow, because she might be climbing cold mountains and need the protection. Yeah, because the dwarves are known to keep pretty closely to the mountains. I can even think of a couple of mountains she might live in or near. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find real quick a map of Athanasia so you guys can follow along. Let me see what I can find here. Let's see. Map of. Oh, there we go. So there's that. How do I share it? How do I share it? I will please share it if I can find it. Map of Athanasia. Where it is it? Where is it? I will tell you. There it is. Okay. So share link. I'll put this in the doobly-doo when we are not live. Map of Athanasia. So in the meantime, here is your map of Athanasia in the chat. Okay. So this map of Athanasia shows several areas of the world that are snowy, and those areas are indicated by the very close to white, the off-white sort of ring around the eye of the world, and that comes down a little bit to one side. And then there are also areas that are snowy just by virtue of being very high, but they're not really shown in white on the map. The darker the brown gets, for example, right over Mount Coria, those very high mountains would be snowy as well, even though it doesn't show it on the map. So seasonally, of course. So like in the wintertime, especially, obviously, you'd end up having snow on the mountains, even if it was low in terms of which one goes up, down, longitude, latitude, latitude. So if it's near the equator in terms of latitude, it's obviously not going to have snow all year round, but during the winter. Okay, let's keep going. So let's just decide that she's a mountain dweller and therefore lives near some dwarves with whom she has a close relationship. Maybe that's who she learned how to build wagons from. Yeah, sure. Okay. So here we got conjuration. Now, oh dear. I've just done something that, oh no. Oh no, guys. I made a boo-boo. So in my random generator, it gives you the opportunity to change the archetype of a wizard. And the whole idea behind that is that once you generate that information, it will populate like a list of spells. But here I've made a boo-boo and I have left it on conjuration, not creation. So here's what I'm going to do. For the sake of getting some spells that'll work, I am going to go ahead and open up my Grimoire random generator, and I'm going to set the specs to a wizard of level 20 in the conjuration sphere. It's the conjuration school technically, but wait, no, I think that might be, here's why. I just realized something about my own system. Okay, thank you all for following along with me as I do this. So, as previously stated in other videos, I use the Spheres of Power setting. Not setting, it's a supplement. This is an alternate set of magic rules. And one of the things that I really like about this is that it breaks your magic into 20 spheres. Now, obviously, these don't all match up, right? So like death would be necromancy. That seems fairly direct. You've got destruction. That would be evocation. So far, so good. The trouble is that you have things like conjuration, which is summoning creatures, and then you have creation, which has no direct comparison. Whereas conjuration is about summoning creatures in D&D, it's also about summoning objects. So in my interpretation of this 20 spheres of power, you're going to end up with more than one sphere being dedicated to more than one school of magic from the basic rules, from the player's handbook. So what this means is that conjuration is still the correct school for her because she's about creation. She's just focusing more on creating objects than she is about summoning creatures or like the teleportation angle. So let's get specific about this. All right, so conjuration, mage hand, poison spray, acid splash, create bonfire, and infestation are all of her cantrips. We might have to look at that again and see if there are any more appropriate spells for her. Those are all fine. She would have been exposed to those kinds of spells anyway as a result of being in the academy, but I want to see if we can get at least one that's really specifically like I make a thing. Then we've got 9th level gate. So again, this is very appropriate for summoning creatures, but not so much for creating things. 8th level incendiary cloud. I don't know about that. 7th level Mordenkainen's magnificent mansion. Now here's where we took a little bit of a different tack with Malark, right? Because he's a conjuration mage from the Spheres of Power campaign, or that is the Spheres of Power supplement. I have interpreted that conjuration sphere to be like the magic system from the Amulet of Samarkand, Golem's Eye, Ptolemy's Gate, Jonathan Stroud, the Bartimaeus trilogy. Yeah, I remembered. So, but that's where wizards don't actually do magic. They summon creatures who are invisible that do the magic for them, and other people interpret them as having done the magic, and they just pridefully take credit for it. So here, we're going to have to do a slightly different thing. Where Mordenkainen's magnificent mansion can be interpreted as like warp magic, where you create a pocket dimension and it has a manifestation of force fields and illusions that make you feel like you're living inside of a real mansion when it's really not. It's a pocket dimension. My interpretation of Mordenkainen's magnificent mansion is that you create an actual mansion. That because this is a creation mage, you're either transmuting the mansion into existence and then allowing that to return back to whatever materials that it was originally made from. Or maybe you do in fact create spontaneous fields of force that act like a mansion. And then those fields of force, after they're done being used, sort of vanish, right? The magic used to maintain those fields of force vanishes. Okay, so that's all good. Teleport, again, appropriate for conjuration, but not so much for creation. Plane shift, still kind of focusing on warp magic, I feel like. 6th level, scatter, Dromage's instant summons. That would be appropriate, right? You're causing a thing to appear out of nowhere. And mechanically, the thing that appears is like the thing that you made go away, right? But like as you're making something go away, in my mind, thematically, because it's creation, you're like creating it before you need it. And then you're just summoning that. You're like completing the creation spell that you've already primed, sort of thing. You can tweak that a little bit. Then Arcane Gate, last 6th level slot. Yeah, we might have to swap out quite a few of these sort of warp flavored things. 5th, Far Step, again. Cloud Kill, okay, Cloud Kill I could see, just like Incendiary Cloud as well, where you're making a thing appear, right? Like you're producing something out of nowhere. I suppose that's the same as like Poison Spray or Acid Splash or Create Bonfire or Infestation as your cantrips. Mage Hand, you create and control a telepathic, a hand using your mind. Maybe. Why does it float? Like the Poison Spray, you just not summon, but you conjure a spray of acid and it just goes. With a Mage Hand, you're like moving something with your mind. I suppose that could be just telekinesis, the telekinesis she happened to pick up in the guild. Anyway, so Cloud Kill is fine. Conjure Elemental, that seems like actual conjuration. Again, Arcane Gate. No, that was back on 6th. All right, Teleportation Circle. Again, yeah. I might have to adjust. Or maybe this is just a thing that she knows. Maybe she just specializes in both creating objects and warp magic. Maybe that was her minor. Maybe warp is her minor. Yeah. We could just explain it that way. 4th level, Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound. You produce a force field of magic that acts like an animal. So that's sort of another thing that I want to talk about. Part of how I envision magic working is that in order, like, there's a difference between summoning a thing from like manipulating the world around you, right? Like, let's say I take this table and I cast a spell that causes a piece of the table to shard off and become like a splinter, like this huge thick splinter, and I can use it like a dagger, right? That's one thing, like you're using what's actually there. But then what happens, it's different if I cause magic, which in my mind is the raw potential for matter and energy, and push it into existence in the material plane as acting as if it were wood. It would obey all the laws that anything made of wood would follow, but the difference is that once I'm done with it, it sort of dissolves back into the mana flow, right? So I could create a splinter of wood that would not have to come from the table, and I could light it on fire, and I could split off a little piece of it and pick my teeth like a toothpick, right? All the things that wood would normally do. It would obey those laws and properties as if it were real wood, but it's made of magic. So here I feel like it's very similar to that. Like the Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound, unless you were actually like conjuring a hound, which would be more conjuration in the Spheres of Power sense, I'm going creation. So I'm saying that she's using magic and pushing it into the material plane and asking it to act like a dog. And then when the spell is over, that magic just dissolves back into the mana flow. The dog isn't real, right? It's just been sort of made out of thin air, so to speak. All right, Layman's Secret Chest. That's more warp magic. Seems more like her minor. Watery Sphere. This is one of the scrolls. She's got a scroll of Watery Sphere, and she's got it on her spell list. Interesting. So she must have been using it enough that she felt like it was important to have one on hand, or maybe she writes those. Maybe she writes Watery Sphere scrolls and sells them or something. Evard's Black Tentacles. Again, as opposed to summoning actual black tentacles, maybe she pushes magic into the form of black tentacles and causes them to do things and be gross. 3rd level, Thunderstep, more warp magic. Stinking Cloud, that could be creation. Tidal Wave, that could be creation. I could see her summoning a wave of magical water that does a thing and then disappears. Sleet Storm, same thing. Misty Step, more warp magic. Fog Cloud, that could be conjuration. Unseen Servant, again, like the Faithful Hound. It's just a shape of a field of force made out of magic pushed into the material plane that does a thing. Doesn't even have any, what is it? It's translucent, because why do you need to make it look pretty just to have it go around and be a field of force? Okay. I'm going to just sort of say, based on what we've talked about, because she has a lot of teleportation related stuff, that she just minored in warp. I feel like that's the easiest way to sort of explain why. So she's sort of like a dual specialist. For somebody who, honestly, who was that excited about her guild introduction letter that she kept it, come on, like she's nerdy. Now, she only has an intelligence of 17. That doesn't mean anything about her enthusiasm, though. Her personality is probably going to, I mean, for goodness sake, she has the flaw never enough. She can't stop with just one field of magic. Yeah, this is making more sense all the time. Yeah, so she was very like, I think it was even like a sticking point for her. Like other people pointed it out and were like, I don't see you as being as smart as all those other kids, because she's such a well-rounded kid. Like she was probably the kind of kid where people were like, you could do anything you wanted to do. You are legitimately an excellent wagon maker. Like you're so good at this. She's got a strength of 9, but still she's got like, Dex 17, Con 16, Intelligence 17, Wisdom 13, Charisma 15. She's not verbose per se, but like she's eloquent, she's witty, she's tough, she's agile. Like if anything, she's as agile physically as she is smart with her intelligence. But still, they looked at her and they were like, I mean, you're gonna go, like, you would be just as good of, say, an acrobat as you were a wizard, as you were a mage. And maybe maybe that was a thing. Maybe she kind of had to deal with that and be like, well, yeah, but I gotta do something. Like if I go over and do this other thing, somebody's going to tell me over there, what, you're really smart. You're way too smart for us. So just like being compared to other people and being pointed out as somebody who wasn't as smart might have been a thing for her. And that's why, maybe the never enough is from other people. Maybe they're forcing her to feel that way. And she just kind of never got over it. Where it was never enough for her family or her friends or someone important to her. For someone important to her, it was never enough that she just, that she'd be good at one thing. Maybe she was left this impression that she had to be great at everything just to prove to the people she cared about, the people who were important to her, that she wasn't wasting her time. Yeah, interesting. Okay. All right, so she used that and she just said, fine, look, I'm going to become so good. I'm good at two things. I'm amazing at creation magic, but I'm also amazing at warp magic as well. Like she hit that hard. Or maybe there was, maybe she knows somebody. Maybe she has a mentor who was interested in warp magic and she really wanted to do creation magic because she was really good at crafting things, and then that warp sort of mage friend of hers was like, nah, I don't know, you really should do warp. And so I don't know, but regardless, she felt pressure from the outside to be all like, you should really do this. And so she was just like, fine, I'll show you that I'm capable by doing everything. Anyways, all right, moving on from that. Arcane recovery is a thing all of them can do. Conjuration. She spends half the time in gold to copy conjuration spells. Minor conjuration, she can create a non-magical object she has seen of less than 3 square feet and less than 10 pounds. The object radiates 5 feet of dim light and lasts for 1 hour. And I guess, so the way we painted this in Malak's situation was that he was conjuring something from one of his contracted allies. Like maybe it was that giant who he said, hey, let me summon your sword or whatever it is. And we painted that the light motif, the fact that it sheds light as being a manifestation of the magic that keeps that object present in its temporary space until it's done being used, at which point it reverts back to wherever it came from. In the case of Tammith, I think one thing that would be different is this idea of it shedding light is probably because it's not real. In Malak's case, it's real. He's just transporting it someplace else. In Tammith's case, it is unreal. Definitely unreal. And because of that, it radiates 5 feet of dim light because it's manifesting that magical aura. So that's cool. Benign transposition, she, again, trades places with a smaller willing creature. That makes sense for her character specifically because she, again, we've decided that she specializes in warp magic as well. Spell mastery, she chooses 2 spells. One is Thunderstep, the other is Stinking Cloud. Again, still consistent with her specializations because she's Thunderstep, warp magic, and Stinking Cloud conjuration. Then her feats are Weapon Master, proficiency in 4 chosen weapons. That's not built in. Okay, we're going to have to make some choices for her. Probably dex-based weapons. Maybe she did get a little bit of training. Maybe there was like genuinely a circus that came through, and and somebody challenged her and was like, whatever. maybe that was part of this conversation where like they were talking back and forth, whatever. I bet you couldn't throw these throwing knives like that guy over there. Like maybe there was this carnival and they were challenging her. Hey, how about you throw these throwing knives as good as that guy, or win me that thing on the whatever. I bet you can't do it. And then just to not be outdone, because it's never enough, she was like, okay, cool. And then she did it. And she was never satisfied with the fact that she couldn't do it as well as other people. And so she literally sat there and trained until she could do it. So, and maybe it's not throwing knives, because throwing knives seems like a very, obviously all wizards are proficient in, not in daggers. Like everybody's proficient in daggers. But we'll have to think about what kinds of weapons that she would have gone out and just said, I want to learn how to use this thing. Yeah, cool. And maybe we'll give that to her we'll look at some finesse weapons. She's good at dex, so we'll find some finesse weapons, like a rapier or something. That sounds cool. All right, so let's see. Weapon master. Okay. Keen mind, always know north, hours before sunrise or sunset, anything seen or heard in past month. This is probably her continuing to practice and say, no, I'm not going to let my relative, she's got a 17 intelligence. That's nothing to sneeze at. But for a wizard of 20th level to have a 17 in intelligence, that's just like, do you really belong here? So maybe this is representing her always ever feeling like she's been lesser than, and training her mind to be able to know these things and remember these things, because she's always felt like she's never been good enough. Resilient, bonus to dexterity and dexterity saves. Oh, okay. So this might also represent her sort of the time in her life when she was like, no, I'm going to get good at this thing that isn't, because everybody keeps telling her, well, yeah, but you can do anything. And she's like, yes, I can do anything. And I'll prove to you that I can do anything. So here, now I'm doing everything. You happy? I don't know. I'm kind of getting a little bit of like an inferiority complex off of her. Or is it a superior card? I can't remember which it is. What's an inferiority complex? An unrealistic feeling of general inadequacy caused by actual or supposed inferiority in one sphere, sometimes marked by aggressive behavior in compensation. She's got an inferiority complex. Even though she's plenty capable at so many things, she's got this, she's just like the fact that somebody tells her she's got to get better. Whatever it is people tell her she's not good at, she has to do better. Observant, read lips. Okay. Alert, can't be surprised while conscious, unseen foes attacks versus you don't have advantage. Okay. Okay. Ready for anything. What made her go that direction? What made her so observant? What made her so alert? Maybe it's all just part of a general attitude of you can't get the better of me. Okay, so we have a mentor. Oh, here we go. This is the connection to the sea. So Garurt, Garurt, which means axe, is a female lizard folk, level 8 wizard. There it is, folks. There it is. Level 8 wizard. Chaotic neutral, background sailor. Yes. In fact, so in Athanasia, I, of course, as I'm sure most of you do, incorporate the like sort of locations from the adventure books that I get into the world so that I can use them straight out of the book. Of course, if I were ever to publish this kind of stuff, I would call it something else. But there's this place called Saltmarsh, which is conveniently located on a coast which faces a sea to the south, and then it has a river that is next to it that goes northward, and then out to the west, it has a swamp. And let's see. So the Hool Marshes in Saltmarsh or let us say to the west of Saltmarsh, sound like a really great place for her to have met this Garurt, female lizard folk level 8 cleric. And I'm going to bet that this level 8 lizard folk wizard was, I want to put the words wizard and lizard together. A lizwiz? No, that's terrible. This lizard folk wizard probably specialized in warp magic. And it says mentor. So she's either, I think she's either from Saltmarsh, or possibly that's where she was assigned after she joined the guild. I will also say this. If you look at your maps of Athanasia, you'll see that there is this location called Tower of Towers, and it's the location where the Wizards' Tribunal is. Just north and west of that, there's a little brown dot just to the east of a river, right? Up further north, you can see it's called the Great Chasm. And that's where I've chosen for my in-world equivalent Saltmarsh to be. So the Hool Marshes are going to be just on the other side of the river, just to the west of that little brown dot. So the Tower of Towers, because that's where the Wizards' Tribunal is, that's also a large, the magical equivalent of a metropolis. Or let us say it is a metropolis, but essentially it's a metropolis not based on a political structure, but based on a megocracy. So the Wizards' Tribunal is composed of three most powerful wizards in the entirety of the world. And there, as you can see, they have a sprawling domain, basically, that they cover, within which are not only independent guild mage guilds. Perfect. Yes. Not only independent mage guilds, but hybrid mage guilds. Whoa. Okay. I'm going to pull out another book. Another book that I like a lot, of course, because I play a lot of Magic the Gathering, is the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. And I have decided that I am going to be treating the Tower of Towers, the metropolis that is the Tower of Towers. I'm going to be using Ravnica, essentially. That's my in-world Ravnica. So all I need to do is find a guild that I think it makes sense for her to be a part of, what would practice warp magic and summoning objects magic. Which guild would that be? Oh man, now you guys have got me on this long by guild. Let's see, guilds. What guilds have we got here? Let's see, warlock, wizard. Conjuration would be either Izzet or Simic. Izzet or Simic. Izzets are more about exploding things, I think. They're very much about the invention, and I don't think she would have kept up. Let's take a look at the Simic. Let's take a look at the Simic. Because I think conjuring objects, are the Simic about like teleportation and stuff? Let's see. So no, that's Demir. Simic. What's Simic? The Simic combine, right? Am I remembering my Ravnica? Is it? And then Simic. Am I remembering my Ravnica lore correctly? Orzhov RS Simic. Selesnya. Not Selesnya. Oh. They're about water and like mutation and stuff. Ooh. Okay. Scientist, guardian, deep sage. Scientists. So Simic guild spells, acid splash. They also have druidcraft. Oh, interesting. Detect poison and disease, expeditious retreat, jump, alter self, enhance ability, enlarge, reduce, gaseous form, water breathing, wind wall, freedom of movement, polymorph, Creation, 5th level, creation. Guys, I found it. She's a Simic. So we're going to go back in and we're going to replace a couple of these things. I think this makes a lot of sense for her because water breathing at 3rd level. Yes. I like the tidal wave. That makes sense. I like Stinking Cloud. Thunderstep is consistent with her warp specialty, but I'm going to swap out Sleet Storm. I'm going to call that water breathing because that just makes sense. Let's see. At Cantrip, we have Poison Spray. Okay, so we have Acid Splash here in the Simic spell list, but I'm going to add Druidcraft instead of Mage Hand because that doesn't make any sense. And I'm going to say that Druidcraft is an extension of her creation magic because you're in Druidcraft, you're creating something, right? But it's all magical mimicry, essentially. Druidcraft instead of Mage Hand. I like that. Detect Poison and Disease. I don't feel like that's really important for her. Fog Cloud and Unseen Servant make more sense than Detect Poison and Disease and Expeditious Retreat and Jump. 2nd level, Alter Self. I don't see that as being something that she would do. Enhance Ability, no. Enlarge Reduce, no. She's not about that. 2nd level, we have Misty Step. That makes more sense. 3rd level, Gaseous Form. Do we have something that makes more sense, or that makes less sense than Gaseous Form? Thunderstep, Stinking Cloud, Tidal Wave, Water Breathing. No. Gaseous Form is more alteration magic. Water Breathing, yes, please. Wind Wall. Replacing Tidal Wave or something? No. Maybe Stinking Cloud? No, I think that's fine. 3rd level. 4th level, Freedom of Movement. Polymorph. No, it's more alteration. And then 5th level, Creation. Yes. So we have Far Step, Cloud Kill, Conjure Elemental, Teleportation Circle. I don't see Conjure Elemental making sense. Because that's more, again, conjuration in the spheres of power sense. Bringing a being from one place to another. I'm going to add Creation instead of Conjure Elemental. Yeah. Perfect. She's Simic. Let's actually include this somewhere. What are we talking about here? So Simic characters, joining the Simic Combine. Background. It's part of her background. Are we going to have to sacrifice? No. So it says, Simic Guild spells, prerequisite, spell casting, or pact magic class feature. Yeah, no. So you can, yeah, I think this is an extension of the Simic background. Are we going to have to change it from a guild artisan to the Simic scientist? So here's the thing. The Simic background includes the skill proficiencies, the languages, the equipment. It talks about clades and projects. Those aren't necessarily that's just flavor. And then it says research options. You can choose what research you will have done. Then it says feature researcher. So I think the important things about a background are where it talks about your skill proficiencies, your languages, and the equipment that you have. And then the feature. Those are the mechanical things that really matter. Everything else is just flavor. Now, the fact that it comes along with Simic Guild spells means that it says, for you, the spells in the Simic Guild spell table are added to the spell list of your spellcasting class. If you are a multi-class character with multiple spell lists, these are added to all of them. When your magic causes physical alterations in yourself and others, the result often displays characteristics of fish, amphibians, and other water-dwelling creatures, blue-green eddies of magical energy sometimes accompany your spellcasting, forming spirals that reflect the mathematical perfection of nature. Yeah, so I feel like just knowing that she's part, if I wanted to make this 100% legit, I would want to give her the actual Simic scientist background, but I feel like that's not terribly necessary. The spell list is just thematic. It's saying if you are part of the guild, you have this spell list, even in my opinion, even if you don't have the background. Okay, I'm choosing, although that wagon maker doesn't make a ton of sense if she's living on the coast, especially in the tower. I mean, the Tower of Towers needs wagon makers just as much as any other metropolis. I'll leave it as it is for now. We'll see what her history says. Okay, so it says, I was born in the home of a midwife, and I have 2 siblings. Okay, I am the oldest. My father was enslaved when I was young. Oh. who enslaved them? Was it the lizard folk? That would be an interesting tension. I know who my parents are. I was raised by my single stepmother. This is fairy tale stuff all over again. I know who my parents are. My father was enslaved, and I was raised by my single stepmother. So either was her mother enslaved as well, or killed? Ooh. What if her father? What if her mother was? So she was born. She's the oldest. She has 2 siblings. So after her second sibling was born, we'll say her mother was maybe taken captive by the lizard folk, and then her father went looking for her mother and came back empty-handed, essentially. And then after however long it took for him to grieve and move on, he finally just decided that he would, marry someone else. So they had a stepmother. And then maybe he found out, maybe he found out that she was alive. Maybe her father found out that her mother was alive. And he was like, I have to go save her. And the result was that, of course, the stepmother is like, no, don't go. That's crazy. But also, holy crap, that's sad. And I'm conflicted because you should definitely go to your first wife because she's still your wife. But also, I'm your wife now. So, but she had to stay behind and take care of the kids, right? So the stepmother stays behind and takes care of the kids. And the father eventually is just because he's so bent. And I mean, who wouldn't be? But because he's so bent on saving his first wife, he's enslaved and never comes back. We lived a comfortable lifestyle in a small house. I remember having a large circle of friends. Well, that's good, at least. When I was 18, my single stepmother left me with a stipend that enables me to live a comfortable lifestyle for 15 years, or I can pay 2 gold pieces less on the cost of a higher lifestyle at that time. Oh, no. Oh, no. So when I was 18, my single stepmother left me with a stipend. Oh, okay. So sure, that doesn't mean that the stepmother left per se, but when she was 18. So yeah. So maybe that was it. Maybe that was when, maybe that was when, and what attracted the lizard folk in the first place? Because they live on a ranch and they wanted to take the horses and maybe just the horses. Yeah. And so they came in and, of course, her mom was putting up a fuss and that's how she got kidnapped. Yeah. Okay. So when the single stepmother was like, look, you are the only children I know. Hang on, I was born in the home of a midwife and I have 2 siblings. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily full siblings. They could be step siblings. It could be her mom was kidnapped when she was just a baby and her mom had never had, or not even step siblings. Maybe they were, what's the word? Half brother, half sister, half siblings. Maybe, yeah. So it was her stepmother, but it might have been her siblings could have been half siblings, related to her by blood through her father. Interesting. Regardless, her stepmother left me with a stipend. Okay, so she goes off to the guild. She goes to the academy. She learns. She joins the Simic themed. It's not going to be called the Simic Combine or but she joins the hybrid guild, because that's a thing in the Tower of Towers. And when she graduates, her stepmother says, I'm so proud of you. I've been saving this for you for my entire life. Here, take it. And she gives her a stipend that enables her to live a comfortable lifestyle for the next 15 years. So that's 18 plus 15. That's like the lifespan of her horse. Now, we're going to have to cut some of this out because we've decided that she's younger than 60, whatever it is. So it can only go as high as 30. But what it says is 4 years later, so after she was 18, so 22, this is probably about the time, or maybe she gives her that stipend so that she can go off to college, so that she can go off to the academy. Yeah, that makes more sense. So she goes to the academy when she's 18. She's like, you got to get out of here, make something else, make something of yourself. This can't be your life. You don't want to be around when the lizard folk come back and just take the rest of your, the rest of our horses and me. You got to get out of here. Make something more of yourself. And I think that's maybe where she got the idea that it was never enough. Interesting. Okay. So 4 years later, when she was 22, we can say maybe as she's graduating from the academy, it says, I married my partner. Okay. And then it says when I was 27, so that was another 5 years after that. 4 years after that, there we go. I went on a quest that taught me a great deal. Next time I make an ability check or saving throw, I have an advantage on the roll. Okay. And then it gets into when I was 38, I was heavily wounded in battle while on a quest. In time, I was able to fully recover. Within a year, when I was 45, I fought in the war, whatever that means, and survived, but I suffered from terrible nightmares in which I relived the experience. 6 years after that, when I was 57, an adventurer and I became enemies. The rift was my doing. Within a year, I was injured by magic. When I was 66, I was petrified and remained a stone statue for a time until someone freed me. Whoa. That sounds very dramatic, but unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet. She's 30 right now. Boop. So that's what we're left with. She receives a stipend when she's 18 to go off to college. That will support her for 15 years, so it still hasn't run out. Like she's only 30, so she's only used 12 out of those 15 years. She's good for another 3 years. And she and her partner, whoever that is, got married, and she went on a quest that taught her a great deal. And the next time she makes an ability check or saving throw, she has advantage. Interesting. I'm full of aphorisms and have a proverb for every occasion. This must have been part of her book learning. I'm committed to the people I care about, not to ideals. Aha. I'm committed to the people I care about, not to ideals. We still have yet to see where her mentor came from. Who was her mentor? How did she end up in Saltmarsh? Let's see. I owe my guild a great debt for forging me into the person I am today. Yeah, she does. Because she learned. She learned from, ooh, I owe my guild. Maybe because people are the things that are important to her, not the ideal. Maybe what she means when she says, I owe my guild, I'm going to put in here as a parentheses, I owe my guild, parentheses, mentor, a great debt for forging me into the person I am today. Maybe it was Garurt. I don't know how to say lizard folk names, but maybe it was Garurt who maybe broke her of not a prejudice that she was taught per se, but one that maybe she was just left with growing up, because she saw both her mother and her father leave into the Hool Marsh and never come back. And so maybe she had this predisposition to not believe, not trust lizard folk. And then this female lizard folk wizard, Garurt, was like, look, you got to set that aside. I'm here to help you. Yeah, I'm a lizard folk. Okay. You're a human. Humans do terrible things all the time. That's just how it is. You got to let that go. So maybe this was it. When I was 27, I went on a quest that taught me a great deal. There. Yeah, when she was 27, that's finally when her mentor, now long after she's left the academy, where her mentor said, like, proved to her that it was worth her not hanging on. Maybe it wasn't her teacher. Maybe it was like a more senior member of the guild, because we're seeing here it's like a level 8 wizard. So it probably happened around the time that she was in the guild, and maybe she just hooked up with this Garurt again later, and just said, "Hey." Maybe she was in a position where she was forced to trust her, and just had to rely on her, and that's because she associates Garurt with the guild, because she was her senior while she was at the guild. It meant a great deal. And let's see, I owe my guild a great debt for forging me into the person I am today. That sounds all about like personal development. I'm never satisfied with what I have. I always want more. More knowledge, more talents, more expertise, more proficiency. Yeah. I craft materials into parts for wagons and carts. Sure. Yeah. Maybe maybe her dad, one of them, either her dad or her mom, one of them was a wagon maker and the other was a rancher. I'm going to say. We're going to say, since they were coming in the first place, they were coming for the horses. And because it was her mother who was the rancher, she was the one who was out front saying, no, get away from my horses. And so she was the one who was taken. And then the husband later was like, I got to go save my wife. And he loaded up a wagon because he built wagons. And this is where she got her sort of experience building wagons. Maybe she even helped her dad build the wagon that he left in. Oh no, poor kid. When I became lost in a forest, a hedge wizard found me. Oh, maybe this is the mentor. Maybe the mentor is the hedge wizard. Took me in and taught me the rudiments of magic. Oh my gosh, she went after her dad. And she got lost. And then Gerert found her and said, oh, hey, it's okay. I got you. Can I take you back home? And of course, because she was split, she was like, I don't know where home is. Because home to her was her father. And of course, her stepmother was amazing, but taught me the rudiments of magic. And then maybe she became like the hedge wizard. Yeah, like became legitimized. And so when she went off to, because the people are the important thing to her. So when she went off to the academy, she said, Gerert, come with me. Come join the guild with me. And because of her expertise, because she had already known quite a bit of magic, she was able to kind of get legitimized, because as a hedge wizard, you're not part of a guild. And she never went, either she never went to an academy or she did go to an academy. We're talking about Gerert here. Maybe Gerert ended up being a hedge wizard because she was kicked out for some reason. I don't know. That's another story. But yeah, okay. Our live stream is at 1 hour 7. I can't get this done in under an hour. I'll try next time. Of course, I'm trying every time. I'll do better. But yeah, so the story of Tammith is as follows. She was born in the home of a midwife. She has 2 siblings. Her natural-born mother was a rancher who was taking care of the horses one day when a big band of lizard folk came through from the Hool Marshes and stole not all of their horses, but like a number of their horses, like enough that Tammith's mother just could not stand by. And she basically forced them to respond, to retaliate in some way. And so she was kidnapped. She was enslaved by the lizard folk and taken back to the Hool Marshes along with the horses. Her father, of course, did everything he could, went searching for her, never found her. He came back, remarried. He wanted someone to help him to raise his child at the time, Tammith. And they got married. Him, of course, thinking that his wife was dead. There was nothing to be done. He had done his due diligence and couldn't and didn't succeed. Years go by. Tammith has a couple of siblings, half siblings from her stepmother. And when the time came that word reached the ranch that Tammith's mother had been found, or word had reached them that she was alive, Tammith's father said, I can't not go after her. I have to go. And by that time, Tammith was old enough that she basically said, I will help you. I will help you build the wagon. I'll help you repair the wagon, right? Because he's probably wrecked, right? He's just kind of living his life probably from job to job, maybe repairing wagons, right? But he hasn't built any in forever. So he builds his wagon. She helps him. He leaves. She wants to go after him, but he won't let her. And her stepmother won't either. But finally, in the night, she decides, no, I'm going to go. And she leaves. And because the people in her life are the important thing, right? Not ideals. That her father was the important thing in her life. And her stepmother, while amazing, wasn't enough for her. She had to have her father. So she leaves in the night, and she tries to find her way into the Hool Marshes, and she gets lost in the forest. And she's discovered by this female lizard folk wizard named Garurt. And Garurt is like, where's your home? And she says, I don't know. I don't know where my dad is, and I don't know how to get back home. And this is probably what caused her to study up on that keen mind, because she needed to know. She didn't ever want to get lost again. So she needed to always know north, and Garurt taught her that. Ah, beautiful. And then Garurt teaches her the rudiments of magic. She takes care of her, and she eventually decides, look, Garurt is the one that says, we need to find your home. You can't stay here anymore. You need to make something out of your life. You could do anything with your life. You can't stay here in a hedge wizard's cottage in the forest. That's silly. And so eventually she helps her to find her way back to her house. And her stepmother is so overjoyed that she's back, because of course she worried about her. Who knows how long she was gone? Months, maybe a year. Who knows? And finally she's like, thank you so much for coming back. But maybe she never meets Garurt. Maybe her stepmother never meets Garurt, and then doesn't, like, who helped you? Who saved you? Who helped you survive all this time? And she was like, oh, it's just a friend, kind of just downplays it. Anyway, the time comes for her to do something with herself. And when she's 18, her stepmother bestows upon her this money. And she's like, take this. You deserve it. Make something of yourself. You have talent. You have, because she's using her rudiments of magic this entire time. She says, go to the Tower of Towers, make something of yourself, go study. You're smart. You can do this. So she goes, she joins the guild, and she succeeds famously. But when she has her success, and she comes home, and she, sees her horse being born, and she thinks about all of these momentous life occasions. She's just graduated from the academy. She sees her a new horse being born. She thinks about all the people that have meant something to her in her life, and she knows that she wants to eventually find her father. And she thinks, I want Garurt to help me. And so I'm going to have to change this. I owe my mentor, my guild. No, she does owe her guild a great deal for forging her into the person she is, because it forged her into the kind of person who could go and save her father. That's why she's indebted to the guild. And so she goes and she finds Garurt, and she says, let's go save my father. And so she learns. She has a ring of swimming enchanted, or she goes and finds one, and she learns water breathing from Garurt, and she's like, let's go find my dad, all this water preparation, because and maybe there's cold nights in the winter, and it's not that maybe she doesn't live. So this is where we're getting a little bit into the how do we interpret this kind of thing. So maybe the crafts, there's this feature, respect of the stout folk, golden shield dwarves offer you free room and board and may compete to offer you aid, and you're part of the best they have. Maybe her guild, maybe the Creation Guild just happens to have this agreement, right? Maybe this is a guild feature. because obviously the guild artisan is the background that gives her this. So maybe this is a creation guild feature. Maybe they just have an agreement between the creation guild and the dwarves who live nearby to do each other favors for something. I don't know. Anyway, she goes off to save her father, and in the meantime, she marries. Maybe she takes her spouse with her. Yeah, that's beautiful. Went on a quest that taught me a great deal. Yeah, it did. Yeah. And maybe did she save her father? Yes or no? I don't know. Taught her a great deal. Was her mother still alive? Okay. Well, that's Tammith, ladies and gentlemen, the creation mage. A successful and amazing individual who seems undaunted, really. Her quotable personality comes from the books. Her ideal is people. Yeah, they are. Her bond is the guild. They gave her the tools she needed to go and save her father. Her flaws, it's never enough. Nope, she has to have more knowledge. She has to have more power. She has to be able to overcome the forces that are stopping her. And she's a wagon maker. Yeah, she learned her father's trade. Oh. Well, thanks for joining me on yet another episode of Who's Who of Athanasia. I hope you enjoyed it. How do you want to use Tammith? And her last name is Dyernina. So I haven't been saying that most of the video. But Tammith Dyernina is the creation mage in question. How would you use her in your campaign? Might you find her wandering around in the forest as a child? Might the PCs maybe help her to make that initial connection with Garurt? Maybe they meet Garurt and Tammith while she's living there, and they encounter this girl who has started to learn the rudiments of magic. Maybe they encounter Tammith in the Creation Guild, maybe while she's still at the academy. Maybe while she's still at the academy, or maybe after she's joined the guild and she's studying to save her father from lizard folk, and maybe that's a thread where the PCs find out about the lizard folk in the Hool Marshes. Maybe she comes home and they on the ranch they find her when she's when that calf is being born, and she's having that moment where she says, I'm going to take this one for myself. And maybe they help the PCs get some horses as well, just as a way to have a little bit of extra cash for when she goes to save her father. Maybe she asks them to come with her to save her father. Oh, that's amazing. That's an amazing backstory to thread into the narrative. She's got to go save her father because her father went to go save her mother, and both of them got enslaved by those lizard folk. And then, of course, having Garurt right there kind of makes all the PCs go, are you one of the bad ones then? Is that what this is? What's going on? So leave me a thought in the comments. Where would you use Tammith Dyernina in your campaign setting? Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks for coming. Thanks so much for joining me on this adventure. Join me for the next one, the next episode of Who's Who of Athanasia. Until then, see you later.